Hi there, my name is Kirsten. This is the Paper Knits Podcast. I'm a knitter from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I really love to knit, and I really love talking about my knitting with you. I also really love yarn, and collecting yarn, and buying new yarn, and organizing yarn. So normally my podcasts are like, hey, here's what I'm working on, here's my FOs, whatever. Today, I'm giving you a yarn stash tour. And I hope that you're as nosy as I am, because I'm going to just show you everything I have. That's a lie. I'm not going to show you everything. I'm going to show you my sweaters quantities that I have. I have quite a few of those. And I also have a lot of bins that are just like random one skeins of whatever, or so much things that are just leftovers from other projects. And we don't need to go into all that. But I will show you my sweater quantities that I have. Whether or not I plan to do anything with them this year or any year. We'll start 2026 with an inside look into my wall of yarn. In, I think, September this year, I found a strange bug on my knitting and proceeded to flip out about it. And I heat treated all of my yarn. And so that forced me to come face to face with literally every single skein of yarn that I own, because all of it got dumped into bins, and one by one I took every single skein out and I put them out on cookie sheets and I baked them in my oven. I was very concerned about that weird bug, and that it may or may not have been a moth larva, which may or may not have been a clothes moth larva, which may or may not have found just like its best meal ever in my knitting room here. And so it's possible that I overreacted. I did not find any more evidence of anything while I was going through literally every single skein of yarn. But I did what I had to do, you know? I had just got this new shelf in the summer, and I had all of these nice bins, and I had everything organized of where it was going to be. It hadn't quite like settled into its like exact system yet. I had been very excited about like adding this shelf, and then I had to just like tear everything apart, and it was very sad, and it took me a really long time to put everything back into like a functional space again. I had filmed the process of me organizing all of my yarn again, putting things back into bins, figuring out what I had, what went where. Yeah, just like cleaning this space, making it functional again. It literally took me like 3 months because I just didn't have the wherewithal to like make it happen all at once. Unfortunately, I was filming a lot of this, and about half of that footage, the sound is just like so horrible on it that I'm like, I can't use it. So we're doing this instead. So please enjoy. I'm gonna go bin by bin. Maybe there will be some sort of like method to the madness, but I'm not sure about that yet. And like I said, I'm gonna just show you my sweaters quantities and what I'm planning to do with them. I love knitting sweaters. That's mostly what I knit. My previous episode was everything I knit in 2026. And I did share other things, not just my sweaters, but mostly I knit sweaters. I really like knitting sweaters. And I really like wearing my knit sweaters. I'm wearing my Admix pullover today, which is a pattern by Brooklyn Tweed. And actually every time I wear it on camera, I don't notice it in real life. It's knit with Brooklyn Tweed Arbor and Dapple. And the Dapple skeins really vary from one to the next. And there is a line right across here of like 2 different skeins of the Dapple. And I notice it when I'm filming and no other time. Just adjusted my lighting. I don't know if that's better or worse. Hopefully it's better, because this is what I'm going with. Okay, so like I said, no particular order. Gonna grab maybe what's speaking to me first, which is what is sitting on my floor. One thing that also came up with my whole like finding the weird bug thing is that I found sealed bins to put my yarn into. And then most of it lives in those sealed bins. And then some of it just literally lives like this. So it is how it is. Like I said, I probably overreacted about the weird bug. Anyways, first up, this is Jamieson & Smith 5-ply Shetland, which is like a sport weight from Jamieson & Smith. And I bought this last Boxing Day. Boxing Day is my yarn accumulation day because everything's on sale, and it's also the anniversary of my daughter's death. And so I cope with that by buying yarn. Sometimes it gets used in that year, sometimes it doesn't. I tried to use this year. It didn't quite work. My gauge was super off. My plan for this is to make, I want to say Vagor Vest. I'm sure that's not how you say it. By Ella Gordon, which was in last year's Shetland Wool Week annual. And so here's a picture of it. These were the colors that I bought initially, and then when they came, I was like, oh, I don't like that gold. And so then some other time throughout this year, then I bought this kind of marine color. I wasn't super sure about that either, but I think that this is what I started knitting, like, I don't know, a month ago maybe, and I didn't get gauge, and I wasn't being that careful about it, so I need to reknit it. But that's what this is intended to be. It's like a very striking, like, all over colorwork vest. I would really like this finished object, and so I'm hoping that turns into that this year. These will not be in it. I will find something else to do with these. It's called Mustard Twilight. I like looking at these in my bin. Okay, next up we have this Vovo by Rosa Pomar, which is sport weight wool, I believe, fine Portuguese wool. And I had bought this initially to make the Darren cardigan from this book by Jack Cieslak, Embody, which I had bought years ago, and bought this yarn years ago, and then had swatched and, like, I don't know, didn't like it, whatever. I just haven't quite known what to do with it yet. Right now, my plan is to pair it with these two honkin' balls of yarn. This is the Fiber Natura Cobblestone, kind of like the Barber Pole color shifting kind of yarn. I saw this at Stash Lounge and had to buy it, and then proceeded to buy another one later. I had initially bought this thinking I was going to make the Pressed Flowers cardigan, and I actually, like, cast on for that, and then decided I don't know if I like knitting the pattern, like, of the slip stitches and stuff. Like, the texture of the fabric I didn't really like. I also wasn't quite sure about the colors, and so I was pairing it with, like, a gray yarn, which I will show you later. But I think that this would be nice together with the navy blue, and I'm thinking to make a shift again. And I have also swatched for that multiple times, and I think that would look nice. So I already own that pattern. I just need to swatch it and, like, see how it seems. But I think that this would be a nice combination for that. So when I was reorganizing my yarn, those got paired together because probably will turn into something together. My other storage solution that I initially had started doing was vacuum sealing yarn. So some of my yarn looks like this. Let's open it up and I will show you. In here is a collection of Gathering Yarns Brook Farm, which I bought at the Yarn Merchant in Didsbury, and it was on a really good sale. They were like, the Gathering Yarns was, like, clearing out some of their bases or something like that. And so this says it's 100% British wool milled in the UK. On Ravelry, it says that it is BFL Massam, which I think is the same base actually as the Sunday Morning 4-ply by Sonder Yarn Co. Les Garçons also uses that base. But these were $10. So yes, it's this very deep navy color. I hadn't been to the store before, the Yarn Merchant. My hometown is close to there, and so I went and visited the yarn store when I was nearby, and sat down. I was in the store for like an hour planning projects. I bought 2 sweaters quantities while I was there. Oh, also this was while I was, like, literally dealing with all of my yarn here at home, and I was like, went to my parents' house to escape from my house for a little while, and then bought more yarn while I was there. So yeah, this is called the colorway Kettlewell. I bought enough to make the Isley by Megan Babin because I think it just looks so striking. But I think it's going to be kind of a pain to knit. It's 33 stitches and 44 rows per 4 inches. And so this might turn into something else. I've been saving patterns on Ravelry with, like, this yarn in mind. So that'll probably turn into something else. But I have 2,500 meters of it. So also in this bag is my Ancient Arts Heritage fingering weight yarn, which I bought at Knit City Calgary last summer. I've got 4 skeins of the dark blue and then 1 of the white. I bought this, like I knew that I wanted to buy this yarn when I was at Knit City Calgary, but I didn't have a particular pattern in mind. And I have been searching for, like, I know what I want in my brain, but I'm trying to find it in a pattern that already exists, which is like a top-down colorwork yoke with kind of like Nordic vibes that matches the amount of yarn that I have, because this is all I have. It feels very nice. This heritage base is from a farm in Alberta, and then it's milled in Alberta, and then it's dyed by Ancient Arts. And so I love local wool. I love supporting local businesses. I'm excited to do something with this. If you have a pattern in mind for a fingering weight sweater that's has color work in the yoke that kind of has a Nordic vibe, then let me know. I'll crowdsource pattern ideas. One thing about vacuum sealing is that you can fit a whole bunch of yarn into one of these bins because it just is all squished down. It does, however, make them look kind of wonky, so they need to fluff up a little bit. Okay, in here we have this Sanus Garden Peergynt tweed in the colorway Hydrangea. I think it doesn't say that on here. It says 6035. Some of the listings on Ravelry say blue hortensia, which apparently is also another name for hydrangea. So I wasn't so far off with that. I bought this past year when I was ordering my lace weight alpaca to go with my Riggy's cardi. Was ordering it from a shop in Ontario. And I was like, well, while I'm here, I might as well buy some other things since I have to pay for shipping anyways. And this yarn was on clearance. I don't think maybe just this colorway isn't made anymore or something. Anyways, and so I bought a whole bunch of it. It's got these little like rainbow flecks in it. I have knit a couple of sweaters out of Peergynt. I really like it. And this feels even softer than some of the other stuff that I have. I'm not totally sure what this is going to turn into. When I bought it, like once it came, I was like, oh yeah, like I have a very similar yarn in this color without the tweedy flecks in it. It's like, how many pale blue sweaters do I need? So I'm not sure. I have knit with Peergynt enough that I feel like I could cast on without swatching though. So maybe I should just like double check what my gauge is for my last project with Peergynt and then find a sweater that way. I don't know. Okay, next we have this collection of Farmer's Daughter Fibers Pishkin, which I bought from a yarn store here in Alberta that was closing this past year. And they had a whole bunch of stuff on sale. And they used to carry quite a bit of Farmer's Daughter. We can't find it in Canada. Do they wholesale to other stores or do they only sell out of their store now? I'm not sure. But I don't like ordering things that have to come from the States because you have to pay so much money for them. So anyways, I had looked at their website previously for all of their Farmer's Daughter fibers. And then when they were closing up shop and selling off the rest of their the rest of their stock, then I bought this. I think it's quite old Pishkin because these are old tags. Like I think that these are like 2 iterations of tags ago for Farmer's Daughter, which is kind of funny. But this one's called Willow Creek and then this one's called Elk Antler. And so I would have, again, a colorwork sweater, which is my favorite thing to knit. I would have this Willow Creek as the main color. And then the Elk Antler as the contrast color. It's DK, quite a plump DK. And some of these skeins are quite different from each other. And so I just have to be mindful of that. I don't have an immediate plan for this. This was definitely a, like, oh my god, it's on sale, I have to buy it kind of thing. Before it was too late. I bought a skein of Pishkin when I was at the Farmer's Daughter Fibers retreat in Montana a couple years ago. Knit a cowl with it and it's squishy and lovely and I really like it. And so I think a sweater in it would be very lovely, but I don't have a project in mind yet for this. Okay, a bit of a different vibe here. This is 2 plates of unspun that I bought also at Knit City Calgary from Crux Fibers, but the wool itself comes from McCausland Woolen Mills. And I bought 2 plates of it. I have knit 1.5 other sweaters with unspun before. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to work with. I loved this purple color. I had noted in that I was going to make a building blocks cardi with by Amy Sher, but I didn't know if I had enough yardage. The lack of yardage information on unspun kind of stresses me out. So I bought 2 plates of this, and I think a purple kind of model-y colored building blocks cardi would be really nice. And so every time I open up this bin, when I'm like, look, I haven't quite memorized where everything is yet. So every time I open up this bin and I see this, I'm like, oh yeah, like excited about it. So maybe I will try and knit something with this before Knit City Calgary again in September. Not that I would wear it in September because it will be warm, but just for like the sake of completion, like bought it at Knit City Calgary, finish it by the next Knit City Calgary. Okay, this is a fun bin. This has some Ancient Arts Delicacy, which is their mohair silk base, and some Numana yarns. I think it's just a sock. Yeah, like merino nylon sock. And I am going to pair these together because don't they look like they could be the same yarn colorway, but they're from completely different dyers. So this one is called Winter Solstice. It was a like limited edition color, and I bought this 3 years ago. They dyed it again this year for their like 12 days of Christmas thing. And I was like, Kirsten, you already have that. It's just like, it's so pretty. And then this, the Numana yarns, is their Meet Me in Lacombe color. And I can't remember now. My sister-in-law bought, I can't remember how many skeins she bought of this for me. She bought me 1 or 2, and then I either bought 1 or 2 more. And my plan is to hold these together and I think make kind of like a lento vibe. So like kind of looser gauge, oversized. The thing is that like the lento is quite a loose gauge. It doesn't use that much yardage. I think that I actually have more yardage than what I would need for that. And so I want to try and maximize using up the amount of yarn that's here. Anyways, I bought this delicacy just like because it was so beautiful and I really wanted it, but I didn't have a plan in mind for it. And so then when I saw these together, I was like, ooh, I really like that. So I'm going to swatch that and see how it looks. I'm hoping that because they're like literally 2 completely different yarns, that it'll just blend really nicely. There won't be a lot of pooling. So that's my hope for that one. This bin has Brooklyn Tweed Peary in the color Treehouse, which I had bought 1 or 2 skeins of this maybe years ago because I was going to make a sweater for my son and he didn't like it. I didn't ever make a sweater for him. He didn't like the color, whatever. He was like 4 at the time. But I had only bought a couple skeins, right? And so then I started accumulating more and more of it. Like, you know, every once in a while when I'd like go back into the fiber nook, I'd like buy another couple skeins. Cause it's kind of pricey. Like it's $20 a skein for a 50-gram skein. And so I've accumulated 10 skeins of it and 1900 meters about. And my thought has been to make the birch sweater by Andrea Mowry because it looks beautiful, but I don't actually have enough yardage for that. That sweater has very tight row gauge and I don't have enough yardage for my size. 27 stitches and 52 rows. It's fisherman's rib. And so I have a favorites folder on Ravelry of Peary patterns. And so I had gone through like every single Brooklyn Tweed Peary design. Cause it's like, okay, like what did they design with this particular yarn in mind? And like I've saved some of those. Lots of them are older patterns and they're not size inclusive. And so then I have mixed feelings about that because it's like, I have this much yardage. I have no more. They stopped making this yarn like years ago, even before they even like closed up shop. So, I have what I have and that's it. I had wound up 1 ball of it to start swatching with and I never did. And it feels very special. And so that has kind of been a deterrent for me then of actually like doing something with it. Yeah, it feels kind of precious. And I think I probably just need to look through my patterns again that I already have saved. Like I've already put in a lot of time into trying to figure out what pattern I might want to make. Pick one, swatch, see what I think. I have a ball wound up ready to go for that. Okay, this is a bunch of Peer Gynt, which I'm currently knitting with right now, this sweater's quantity, but I just started, so I've only like pulled out 2 balls of it. I have a whole bunch of it. I think I have 15 skeins. I bought this also last year on Boxing Day with the plans of making a sweater for my dad, and swatched a couple times, couldn't quite decide on a pattern, decided that this color, it's so dark blue, it almost looks purple. And I really wanted, like, I'm making him like a fisherman's sweater. I really wanted a like true navy blue for that. And probably you could say that that's what this is, but it just felt like it wasn't quite right. And so I'm using it for myself right now, and I ordered different yarn this Boxing Day to make a sweater for my dad. But I will have leftovers of this, I think, and I don't remember how much yardage I actually need for my current project, but that's what this will soon be. This is also yarn that is currently in the process of being used. I also bought this at the Yarn Merchant in Didsbury. This is their 40 Mile Project wool. And so one of a kind, grown, processed, or handcrafted within 40 miles or 65 kilometers of Didsbury, Alberta. So this is 100% natural Shetland Lopi style yarn spun at Custom Woolen Mills. And so I have a sweater's quantity of that. And this is what I'm making my modified Miles shirt jacket out of. And I'm knitting it at a very dense gauge and making all these mods to the pattern. And so it's been a slow process. I think I'm through 1 skein of it maybe. And I think it's going to be exactly what I want it to be once it's finished. But it's just been a slow knit. So this is safely stored away until I need it. Okay, so you know how earlier I was saying how I'd cast on for the Pressed Flowers cardigan? I'd actually oh yeah, well that's in here too. I cast on. I knit the ribbing. I had started knitting the body, like the actual pattern as well, and then I ripped that out. Anyways, I had been using Brocalanus Light for that. I had bought a whole bunch of this and used it for my Blanket for Lainey pattern that I knit a couple years ago, and I really liked it. It feels woolly without feeling scratchy, and I think it would have made a really nice Pressed Flowers cardigan. I just don't know if I like the texture of this. I don't really love working mosaic. So my plan with this is to make the Selly cardigan by Alex Bird, pattern that uses the Rosamina inlay technique and a couple of other like Estonian knitting techniques. I took a class with Alex at Knit City Calgary and just was fascinated by it. I've got another project of hers on the go, and I have since like bought her Estonian knitting book. She's since released another book that I love, but I'm like, I can't justify buying it right now because I literally have not knit anything from the first book that I bought from her. But the pattern is knit, her original sample is knit in this gray, and then a like navy and kind of like a rusty burnt orange color. And I happen to have these already. This is John Arbin Exmoor sock, which I bought from somebody who was destashing. I had intended to make socks for my husband with them, but I'm sure I have more of it. Must be hiding somewhere, because I've now bought more so that I would have enough to make sure I had enough for the pattern. But that's my plan, is to use those for the Selly cardigan. And I'm going to modify one of the inlay patterns on the arms from one of Alex's other patterns. Like I want to kind of like mash them together. And so I had started rejigging the stitch pattern a little bit. I don't have to change any numbers. I just have to like make sure that the like patterns would be interchangeable enough. So that'll be a very big project. I got to try on her sample at Knit City Calgary, which was fun. I tried on all of her samples, and yeah, I'm knitting a shawl that I had seen there. There we go. All right. Next up, we have my collection of River City Yarns Epic, which I have used quite a few times over the years. River City Yarns was a yarn store here in Edmonton that's closed down. They had this like house yarn, I guess. I don't know. And I really like it. And so I bought up a whole bunch of it when they were closing up their shop. And so I have a sweater's quantity of this color, which is, I think that this one is called Faded Denim. I have not quite a sweater's quantity left of this one, which is called Morning Sky, which is what my Traveling Boulevardier sweater is knit out of. And this is the one that looks pretty much like the exact same color as that Peer Gynt tweed one. I have some leftover of this one, which is the marine blue, which is what I knit my first Boulevardier in. I have some of this gray. I think that this is the colorway that I knit a sweater for my husband in this, and then I needed more, and then the dye lots were like completely different. I think that's what this is. I also have a couple random skeins of this like camel color. This was going to be the yarn for my cabled blanket that I was going to make, that then I didn't. Anyways, I have quite a bit of it, and it's a beautiful sweater yarn, but like I have 3 different blues left of that. Like I have 1 sweater's quantity, I think, of the faded denim one, and then I have just like 2 or 3 balls of like the other colors. Like maybe they could be combined to like color work or something. I don't think I've done color work with Epic before. That would be really nice, actually. I don't have any plans for that at the moment, but I'm comforted knowing that it's there, you know? Okay, next up we have this Blue Sky Fibers that I bought at Little Bow Fiber Studio in Calgary. We were down in Calgary for the weekend, and I managed to visit 3 different yarn stores. Oh, that was for Thanksgiving, and I didn't go into the store with a plan, and I sat there and tried to make a plan, and I'm pretty sure I did not buy enough yarn for my plan, and so then this has kind of been pushed to the side in my brain. So I bought the wool stock, which is 112 meters per 50 grams fine Highland wool. These are like 150 gram skeins of the same base. My plan was to make the Marshland sweater by Tin Can Knits from their Strange Brew book, because I really love the color work on it. Partly because the color work goes down like into the body. It's not just on the yoke, and I just really like that look. But that also means that you need more yarn than it's only in the yoke. And that's why I'm not sure if I have enough. So I need to crunch the numbers about that again. This yarn feels very nice, and so I would really like to knit with this. I think it would make a fairly nice sweater. Like it's worsted weight, but it's like, it's quite, like this is pretty loosely like hanked up, but like it's quite drapey. And so I would like to knit this. So I think I'm scared that I didn't buy enough yarn. And because I bought it on a whim, it was not like necessarily planned for in the budget. And so then if I'm like, just kidding, I have to buy more so I can like use it, then that feels silly. But maybe I do have enough. Maybe I did my math properly while I was sitting in the store. Maybe I could just like change around the colorwork sections a little bit to make use of what I have. Like probably one of these colors is used less in the pattern, so maybe if I just like move around where some of the colors are, you know. I'm not sure. I really like the like color palette that I picked out. So okay, now we have some imminent plans for yarn. This is some Yarn Ink Surrey lace, Surrey alpaca, that I bought from somebody who was destashing, and I have yarn on the way to pair with this and some spin cycle somewhere in a bag here. I think I'm going to make a tessellated. And that also feels daunting because of the mosaic knitting that I don't love, and my love-hate relationship with Andrea Mowry patterns because my brain just like doesn't understand them. But I really like how they look, how the tessellated pattern looks, and I think that my yarn colors will look really cool. So like here's some of my spin cycle colorways that I have. I also have this like bright purple leftover. That might be too much, but, and then I bought, it was called Fig or something. Like it's like a deep purple. And so I don't know. I'm excited to, that yarn's on its way still. It's gonna get here next week. I'm excited to swatch and then see if I still like my plan or not. Okay, next we have a collection of yarn from Ancient Arts. This I think I bought also last year. Maybe it was a Boxing Day, maybe it was like a New Year's sale, because they did it again this year where they had like all of their revival was like on a really good discount. And then everything else that was in stock was like on like 10 or 15% discount. I don't remember. So I bought these two to go together, which are actually different colors. Like this one's French lilac and this one is house orchid, because the one that matched the house lilac, the French lilac, looked different. I'm quite pleased with how well these matched up together. However, I don't know if this is my color. It's more pink than I want it to be. I want it to be a little bit more purple. I had planned to make the Soiree by Emily Foden. I have her Knits About Winter book. And so that was kind of my thought about this. And if not that one, then I don't know why in my brain it's the Winter's Beach Cardi. That is a completely different pattern. It's the Pink Fizz. And so that was my other thought for this. But yeah, I just don't know if this is my color. I have a hard time with pinks. This has been like staring at me and taunting me for a whole year. And I might just sell it. I don't know. I actually almost was like, I'll just buy different new colors that I like this year on their sale. I didn't. Okay, we're almost done here. This one, I'm not going to take out of the bag because it's very tightly packed in here. So here's some shiny yarn. No, this is the Kelburn Woolens Germantown. I have two different colorways of it, Pansy and Indigo. I have 5 of the Pansy, 3 of the Indigo. And this again, unfortunately, was from a yarn store here in Alberta that was closing. I had been wanting to try this yarn, bought it from the store as they were closing. It's worsted weight. I just really like knitting colorwork sweaters, and so like that was my thought with this. However, I also feel like it would make a really nice woven blanket. And so that has kind of also been in the back of my mind. I am not good enough at weaving to be able to plan a project at this point. And so I have no idea if I have enough yardage here, but I think that I would be like, I could just make a smaller blanket, but like, I just have this sense that it would make a good blanket yarn. And so that's kind of in the back of my mind as like what I want to do with it. And so I haven't done a lot of planning around knitting for this one. And therefore I'm going to keep it tightly sealed in this bag. Okay. We're on the last one, which is such a random sweaters quantity of yarn. I have literally never spoken about it before. There's like, I don't know how many colorways are in here. I don't even have this in my stash on my Ravelry because, well, let me tell you all about it. This is a kit for an Alice Stormore pattern called Henry VIII. And somebody here in Edmonton was getting rid of theirs. Well, actually, they're like a reseller of like craft supplies. And they had this kit. And it was like $100. And I think it came with the pattern card. I don't know where that is anymore. This pattern used to be in the Tudor Roses book. And then with a reprinting of the book, I think what the story was is that then Alice Stormore decided to remove the one that was Henry VIII and then kept all of the patterns that were just like the Tudor women instead of having this one that was inspired by Henry VIII in it. I had seen ages and ages and ages ago Fruity Knitting's version of it, and I think she wore it in like one of their very first podcast episodes and was talking about it, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's just so striking. Like it's such a interesting colorwork pattern. There's so many colors in it. I'm here holding 3 little mini skeins. There's my sweater. So here's the thing. You may notice, obviously these ones are a mess, but I have them on zip ties. I have all of these separate skeins attached together. Like I said, this was from some sort of like reseller of craft supplies. And so I don't know if she works like on commission or something, or if like she buys things off of people and then resells them. I actually haven't seen her post in a while. Anyways, I bought this kit from her and it smelled like cigarette smoke. The entire batch of yarn. Not from her house. I think like I bought yarn from her before. It wasn't from her house, but whoever had this initially, it smelled like cigarette smoke. I was devastated. Like, just like did not know what to do. I've seen so many posts in the last couple weeks here of people like snow washing their blankets and their sweaters and all these things. Like, oh, it's amazing. And it's this like ancient tradition and blah, blah, blah. Snow washing does not get out cigarette smoke. I feel slightly skeptical that it does anything, but I don't want to, like, yes, if cultures have been doing this for millennia, hundreds of years, then like, sure, put your wool carpet in the snow. I tried it with this, all of my skeins of wool laid out in the snow pile. It didn't work. I've washed every single one of these skeins. And because there's so many different colors, I don't know how many colors are actually in it. I like held them all up, but I don't actually know. See, and the information on the website doesn't even list all of the colors. You just like buy it as a kit. Anyways, I found it elsewhere in the past. Anyways, some of them, and it's also the kit only includes as much yarn as you actually need. And so if like you need 75 grams of this color, it has 75 grams of this color kind of thing. Like I just made that number up, but I washed every single color. I unskeined everything, put it onto zip ties, washed it, sometimes washed it multiple times, hung it all to dry. I've had this yarn for years and I just finished washing it all this year. Like it could have taken me a day, but like I was so annoyed about it. Really didn't want to get the colors mixed up and didn't want the colors to bleed from one to the other. If I was like, washing this one with this one or something, right? And I just was annoyed about this whole process. If I'm also remembering correctly, the original pattern is a very oversized, like drop shoulder pattern. And it has been rewritten more as like a women's fit and more fitted. It also only goes up to size XL. I don't remember what size this kit is. The extra large is 52 inches. Okay, all of this to say, I don't even know if I'm gonna knit this pattern. It's beautiful and also it's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm not sold on it. So my other thought with this is to find, I have quite a few books from, well, I have two from Marie Wallen. Her colourwork is beautiful and her yarn is kind of similar to this in terms of like the kind of, modeled coloring and stuff in it. And so one of my thoughts is to find a pattern that could maybe use these colors. So I still get like the color palette vibes from the Henry VIII sweater, but without having this like very regal colourwork sweater. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. This particular sweater's quantity does not bring me joy. Almost all the rest of it does. I'm excited about the possibilities. I really like once I got my knitting room back in order again, and actually having the clear bins, I like and don't like. I like being able to see what's in my bins. I like, for the most part, then that feels like inspiring and encouraging. Sometimes it kind of feels like, oh yeah, that. And most of these bins have leftovers of other projects, and that feels overwhelming to me because I don't know what to do with them. I know that I'm going to have such beautiful sweaters in the future. I have 2 sweater quantities on their way from this year's Boxing Day sales. One of those for my dad. And then I also have some black and white yarn. I bought some Vilcolana Arvetta, and did I buy the matching mohair? I can't remember now. Or if I bought a different brand. I can't think of now what I ended up doing. Anyways, I'm going to make the Farnham sweater. I had seen Stephanie from Edible Thoughts Makes showing off hers and I love it. And so I want to make one for myself. And so I planned that out for this year. I've got the main color for the tessellated on its way, and then hopefully I will be knitting my dad a sweater this year. Sorry, Dad. I asked him like 18 months ago, like, hey, can I knit you a sweater? And I really want to. That yarn wasn't right. I had to have the right yarn. So anyways, there is my collection of sweater quantities of yarn. I think that my plans and ideas are bigger than my actual like ability to knit all of those things. Not ability, but like time and energy. But I love that there's always new things to create, and I'm very happy to have so many things to choose from when I'm like, I need to cast on something new, which happens quite a bit. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any like, ooh, I think you'd really like this sweater, or like, ooh, you should check out this pattern to like go with that yarn, like, please let me know. I would love to hear your ideas. So there we go. That's all for now. Happy knitting. Bye.